cornfields. Formula One gets hungry, and we get down and dirty with some Indiana sprint car racing. You're watching the New Mexico Motorsports Report. I'm Spencer Hill alongside Dave. Dave, did you have a good weekend?
I did. I played a little wiffle ball.
Oh, how was that?
Well, it was a little rough because I hadn't played in a while, but it's amazing how much that stuff comes back. But I didn't have near as good a weekend as you did. Talk a little bit about going to Sholo.
Yeah, so as I said last weekend, we had a kind of a surprise happen in the middle of the week. I got a phone call and I picked up myself a sprint car ride for the first time in a non-wing 360 sprint car since I think 2016 or something crazy like that. So I was thinking I was going to be a little bit rusty, but in fact we had a really good weekend out there with SEH Motorsports in the Grammy's Kitchen, number 11W, and it was awesome, man. I mean, heat race win, first ever heat race win in a sprint car. I ran double duty with the micro sprint, which was awesome as well. And it was just fun to get back to the track and do some more of what I love doing.
I was just curious because we had the big rain that came through. Did that affect the track? Did it make it over to Sholo as well?
Yeah, we had a little bit of a rain scare on Friday night. Not so much on Saturday, but it made the track pretty interesting. I mean, it was definitely rough and rowdy both nights. It was probably one of the more rough tracks that I've had to drive on. It made it a little bit interesting, especially doing double duty like that. Wore me out quite a bit, but it was all fun. I mean, it's a challenge, especially for the drivers when you have a rough track like that. And it makes it interesting for the fans too, because you see the cars, you know, get a little bit of airborne. You see a lot more just wrecking, unfortunately, for us, for the fans. They loved it out there. But it was a great time, and it was so awesome to get back to the track with Truman West, and it was just a great weekend overall.
So what was the car count like?
It was actually better in the micro sprint division than it was in the sprint cars. Sprint cars, we were flirting around 18, and the micro sprints had 20 cars out there, which we haven't seen in micro sprint racing in years. So I think that's actually a good sign going forward that maybe we're starting to see a little bit of growth.
Which is interesting because a lot of times you get to July, and especially when you get into mid to late July, your car count actually tends to come down because either cars are broken, you're out of the points, they don't come back, they start picking certain tracks, but they been doing some pretty good shows there. And talk a little bit about, I mean, it's great that they reached out to you. Is extra car, somebody loses C? What ended up happening to bring that together?
Yeah, and we have actually Sydnee Hamblin, Director of Operations, coming on the show in just a little bit to get more in depth with the story, because it's a crazy story. I never thought that it would come together quite like this. I actually didn't think I'd have another opportunity to drive a sprint car, let alone a great ride like the SEH Motorsports number 11W, because it's just, you never know. You never know when your next race is going to be. You never know when your last win's going to be. There's so many unknowns in this sport. So when you have something come together like this, especially if it's kind of last minute, it's really special. So it was a fun story. We're going to get in depth with that here in segment number 3 in just a little bit. But another thing that I was able to do this last weekend, after we came home Saturday night, we drove straight home. Thankfully, Jason Irwin volunteered to drive the truck for us so we can get a little bit of shut-eye. But Sunday, we were able to go over, and I was able to show this little boy, Lucas Tapia, all about what I have going on. And the reason that I got together with this kid is he was actually diagnosed a couple of months ago with a very serious bone marrow disease called aplastic anemia. And the reason that this disease is so near and dear to my heart is it's the same disease that my dad was diagnosed with just about 10 years ago. And it's a very rare, very vicious disease affecting the bone marrow and your platelets and your red and white blood cells. And unfortunately, this kid, he's having a rough time right now, but I was able to take his story and make some good out of it. And I went out to California Speed Week a couple weeks ago, which we talked about on the show. And I was just thinking the whole time out there, how can I do something special for this little boy? And what I came up with was I talked to the promoter out there, Stephen Blakesley, a great friend of mine. And along with him and some of the cooperation from tracks out there, I was able to go up into the grandstands every night with my helmet, and I asked for donations for this little boy. And I was able to present him on Sunday with, and we have a picture here.
Great. With
just over $2,000 that we raised over in California for him and his family as they go through this rough time. So it was great to meet him and the family, present them with this money, and show them all about what I have going on with the race car. And it really pulled on my heartstrings because I couldn't have done it without all the help from all my friends in California and all the race fans around the world, because it was such a cool opportunity, something that I didn't think that I get to do. And to have something like that happen locally is just something that is amazing to me.
That's fantastic. Well, and congratulations on doing that. That's really neat. I think a lot of people don't know how tight the racing community is. I mean, when it comes to veterans, military, kids, I mean, they always step up. I mean, the 50-50 always, goes to things. So it's really great to see that support, and yeah, I'm proud of you. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and if you guys would like to help with Lucas and what he has going on, you could go to his GoFundMe page at www.gofundme.com/bone marrow transplant for Lucas. Every penny helps this cause, and it really does mean a lot to me. So thank you guys for letting me talk about it on the show today.
Well, absolutely. And so if you want to go check out some local racing going on this weekend, we'll throw up the Unser Racing Museum event calendar for the local events. Going on and out at Albuquerque Dragway today, August the 3rd. It's the Yearwood Street to Strip. It's $25. You can bring out your car, street legal drag racing. Saturday, August 4th is the NHRA All Access Challenge, and the Southwest Superchargers are going to be in town. That's a bracket race, and they usually get 12 to 16 cars out and only 8 qualify. They run on a 460 index, so that means that on the 8th mile they're running 4.6 seconds. It's really cool. The Outlaw 8.5s are going to be out there. If you know anything about the Outlaw, the Rod series, they put the 8.5 tires on there, so it's a little more about getting traction, being able to hook it up, and of course they have a Wally race, which means you get a Wally trophy, which is always what NHRA is racing for. August 12th, 11th, and 12th not on there. It's going to be their first, the Albuquerque Dragway, it's going to be their first swap meet. So if you want to get more information about that, it's of course abqdragway.com. Out of Sandy Motor Speedway, they got the track going, and then of course they get a deluge of rain. So they haven't had water, and now they have too much water. But they got the race in, the Clay Oval race. They'll be racing this weekend. It's a Clash of the Clay. Gates open at 6:30, and you want to come out for that. On the road course, Bobby J's is going to be having a track day with SMRI on Sunday. But just to give you a feel, we had a flat track that actually came back to Sandia. Dylan Beck, Jesse Beck, James Hoosier, and Ken Kreider were in the NMDA Modern, and the vintage class had about 3 riders. So the flat track's going back out of Sandia as well. They had cruisers, Hornets, street stocks, X mods. Todd Budlong was your winner in the X mods. Danny Gross and Rick Combs were your top 3. Your wing sprint, you had Jerry Mosier, and then that was your leader. A small group, but I think that they're trying to get it back to going. But that's kind of what's going on out in Moriarty, though. Motocross is going on August 18th and 19th. That'll be round 5 of the Moriarty Motocross 2018 race series, and that would be the David Fisher Memorial. So a lot of things going on locally. Are you going to be heading back out to Grants? Are you going to be doing some Lucas Oil or anything coming up?
Actually, this weekend so far is open. I say so far because lately, every time I've said I have an open weekend, I end up going, with Jason or finding some sort of track, Grants. I'm sure I'll find myself somewhere this weekend. Probably not in the micro sprint, though. We had kind of a rough weekend in that one. The sprint car went really well. Micro sprint, not so well. On Friday, we finished second, came through the field on that one. Pretty impressive from like the 7th position or something like that, pretty deep in the field. But on Saturday night, we ended up getting in a wreck and blew up the motor. So we have a lot of work to do on the micro sprint to get the 4S ready to go again. But man, I don't know, maybe I'll find myself at Uranium Capital Speedway. I love volunteering down there, like we have said before on the show. So it's kind of open right now. We'll see.
Well, if you're looking for a little something else to do, like a car show, big car show going on out at Route 66 Casino this weekend. It's the calendar car show, which means they're going to pick the cars that are going to be in the calendar. Also, the Al Cafe, Saturday morning, they have their coffee and donuts. It's open to all vehicles, free of charge to come out. There's a giving back to the Community Car and Bike Show that's on Saturday, August the 4th, as well as there's a free car show and cruising at the Blake's Lotaburger up on east of Wantabo on Central. So a lot of other things that you could get out and do and go and participate. But I'm real excited about the different segments we've got coming on today. On the other side, Will Epps with Maverick Auto and Fabrication will be joining the show. We're going to be talking a little bit about how to do some custom fabrication if you're into off-road. And of course, we have a lot of dirt out here, so there's a lot of neat things that we can do there, as well as you got Sydney coming up. And of course, I want to talk to you about what's been going on in open wheel racing. A lot of contact over the weekend.
Yeah,
I mean,
everybody just let loose lately. I don't know what's going on over there.
Banging, and of course, we got to talk about the inspections or the failing inspections at Pocono and what's maybe going on there, because it was very interesting when, of course, now you have to tag the back because you fail the post-qualifying inspection, and yet you still wind up 22nd out of a 40-car field.
I know, it's
so
just
I'd like
crazy.
I'd like to talk a lot about that. But anyway, very excited to and congratulations. I mean, that's just fantastic. Being able to do something you love and give back. I mean, I think there's hope. There's hope for you youngins.
Not all of us millennials are, terrible.
Are you going to take us out? Or you want me to take us out?
Go ahead, Dave.
All right. Well, you've been watching the New Mexico Motorsports. We're here. Report. You should have done it. It would have been better. Yeah, here on the Proview Network, Comcast 26.
When I train for American Ninja Warrior, I schedule regular workouts to stay in shape. To keep my car in Ninja Tough shape, I head to a Napa Auto Care Center for regular maintenance and genuine Napa Auto parts, like brakes and batteries. I trust my Napa Auto Care Center for quality parts and quality service. And with the 24-month, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty, I drive away with peace of mind every time. Visit AutoCareNM.com to find a location near you.
The Barley Room, proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Duke City Sports Bar, proud supporter of Proview Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. Catch all the sports action from high school, college, pros, and MMA on one of our 35 HD TVs. Start your night off right with any selection from our delicious menu prepared with fresh, never frozen ingredients. Duke City Sports Bar, Albuquerque's newest sports bar. Located on Eubank and Montgomery, dial 505-433-4020.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Welcome back to the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the Proview Network, Comcast 26. And really looking forward to this interview. Hey, thank you for finally making it out, Will. How's it going, man?
We're doing pretty well.
Well, I'm glad I could get you out of the shop. Well, I know you guys have been super busy, but for those that aren't familiar with Maverick Auto and Fabrication, where are you guys located?
So we're located at 3612 High Street, We're west of the freeway off of Candelaria, just before Edith.
And how long have you been there?
So we've been at this location for, it'll be 8 years on October 13th, I think is what the date is.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, no,
I mean, because if you make it past the first 4,
that's what they say.
Then you're there forever. but you've been doing this longer than just those 8 years.
Yeah.
Well, how'd you kind of get started in fabrication?
So the fabrication portion started for me when I was around 15 or 16 because I was building Scouts. And they didn't make parts for Scouts, so we had to make them. And, you know, it was torch and grinder kind of stuff, but it eventually, after school and everything else, it turned into what it is now. So I don't know, I've always had a passion for it.
So is it kind of like have welder, will travel?
Yeah, basically, that's exactly how it started. I have a welder, I will travel. Let's see what we can do here.
So how long ago did international kind of like go out of being? Because I'm thinking, yeah, the parts would be few and far between, so you have to kind of like make some.
Right, well, and for what I do in particular with the suspensions and with engine swaps and axle swaps and gears and things like that, when you're putting a 1-ton axle underneath an International Scout, it's not like you could just go buy a kit off the shelf. You have to make the shackles, you have to make the hangers, you have to make the drive lines and the steering, and you have to make everything else. So that's really where it started, a lot of trial and error.
I was just going to ask, does C&M have a class in how to fabricate?
I don't think C&M has a class for what we do. I think C&M has a couple classes that'll get your foot in the door, but I don't think that they're going to have a class in which that's going to make you a professional by the time you leave.
Yeah, and I used to say, and it's not necessarily what you want on your business card, but the expertise that you pay me for is all the mistakes that I've made before, right? You know, I mean, things that didn't quite work out, you thought it would. But is that what kind of like drives you? Is the next project that somebody comes in? Like you were just telling me about a 42 Willys, a pickup, and it was just basically like a trailer full of parts, and it's like, here, this is what I want. Yeah. And oh yeah, there's a big bag of money. Yeah. There as well.
Yeah.
I mean, how often does that really happen?
It never happens, really. I mean, I got really lucky to find this particular customer, and he found me through a few other channels in town because, as everyone knows, Albuquerque's small.
Right.
So he found me, and then he literally showed up with a trailer, and all the parts were sitting on the trailer. We had to unload it, and so hopefully in the next 6 months or so, he'll have himself a running LS-powered Willys truck.
Wow. Wow, I mean, I could just, well, in LS, you know, I mean, so what's been your favorite project before, I mean, up till this, that you've worked on before?
Well, I have favorite projects in different classes. So, I mean, I have a favorite rock buggy that I've built, which we've got a picture of a Forerunner
let's show
somewhere.
some of the pictures from,
there it is. So that's a 1985 Toyota Forerunner that we completely gutted. I mean, it still has the 4-cylinder that it came with.
That's a Forerunner?
That's a Forerunner.
I can't even see it. Wow.
Yeah. So that's my front end that we build. We cut the whole front end off and redo the radiator, redo all the tubing to make it all perfect for the front end. There's actually even a 9,000-pound winch underneath that tubing in the front.
Jeez, wow.
So that was actually my favorite rock crawler. We didn't have a whole bunch of pictures, but if you've ever been to the Super Nationals, there's a picture, I mean, there's a 1996 Toyota Tacoma that we built, and he's racing Outlaw right now, I believe.
Wow.
And, I mean, it's got coilovers front and rear. We completely did the bed cage in it. I think you even saw it at the shop a couple of times. That's probably my favorite pre-runner that we've built. And then I get myself into all kinds of random crazy projects down there. So we fabricate things that don't exist. So people come to us with an idea, and that's a Jeep Liberty.
Okay.
And that customer came to me from another off-road place in town because they don't make anything for those.
Okay.
So
yeah.
He wanted a bumper, he wanted a lift, he wanted tires, he wanted a bunch of different things for it. So we hand fabricated that bumper.
Yeah.
And then this particular one, this is a Jeep truck, and again, they don't make a whole lot of parts for it. And he wasn't happy with the bumpers that they did make because they were too bulky or they didn't have the right material size. He also wanted us to make the bumper a frame stabilizer, so he didn't have a bunch of stuff up underneath there.
Okay.
So that bumper actually doubles as a frame stabilizer for the front end too.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the Cherokee pickup right there. That's a Bronco. We do roll cages, interior, exterior. We do all that. That's a Bronco, a full size. We call it the OJ. Okay. It's a white Bronco.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, at my shop, everything gets a fun name just because that's how we define what we're doing with it. So
well, and so because you brought it up, Maverick. Where does that come from? Is that a nickname?
Yeah, so I got that nickname when I was working for Pepsi. I used to be their fleet mechanic, and every time something bad would happen on the road, they'd send me out there, and eventually it turned into Maverick because I'd always listen to the Top Gun CD in my service truck. So they used to call me Maverick. So when it came down to my shop, I don't typically do like a lot of bolt-on things. Like you come to me because there's nobody else that's going to make it.
Right.
And so that's really what holds true to the name is we're going to make it happen regardless.
Right. Well, and I mean, 4 Wheel Parts is the first to recommend you for something outside the box, which is really good. But I think let's talk a little bit about that thing.
Okay, so that is a custom tube chassis that started as a Land Cruiser, and there is nothing left on that's Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
It's got a Chevy 4.3 and automatic twin transfer cases. It's using Land Cruiser axles, but everything inside the axles is all aftermarket chromoly parts. Has 40s on it. It was a cool project. It took us about 5 months to finish that one.
Yeah.
And that's out running around. So my Street Queen, that's my favorite Street Queen.
Okay.
So that's a 07 Jeep Rubicon.
And so that one never goes off the asphalt.
He goes off-road every now and again,
okay,
but the whole point of that build was he wanted to race Mustangs. So we swapped a VVT Hemi in it from a 2011 SRT Grand Cherokee.
Okay.
So it dynoed almost 550 naturally aspirated horsepower in a Jeep on 35s.
Wow, did he take it out for the truck event that they had out at the Dragway just a couple of weeks ago?
No, actually. The guy, he owns a business, and one of his employees was driving it and dropped a cigarette in it, and it burned to the ground. So that we actually just lost that truck a couple of weeks ago. So you can't save them all.
Man, I can't believe it. I mean, is that a workman's comp issue?
Smoking is bad. Okay?
Wow, that's terrible. But one of the neat things about the off-road community is how you guys come together. It's the only form of racing I know that they actually pull over, help the other person get back into the race. But I know you get out, quite a bit. Head out to Socorro, Moab, all
Colorado,
kinds of different things.
Las Cruces.
I think there's a couple of pictures of you guys. There we go.
So that right there, that picture is of our group gathering in Socorro. That was probably 2 months ago that we went, and we go down and tear. There's Coyote and Edge, and there's a few other trails down there that like to eat sheet metal, and that's like one of my favorite things to do. So
right.
We went down, and that's just a picture of a few of my friends and customers, and that's one of my customers. We just built his 4Runner, and he was crawling up the side of a waterfall. He made it to the end, so it was pretty good.
So now, do you go out there and also drum up business? I mean, you tear something up, you got to help them bring it back.
So the pinnacle of my business is I'm not going to build you a truck that doesn't work. So when I build your truck, I give you an invite and you come with us to go wheeling so I can show you what it does.
Awesome.
And I'll guide you through it. I'll guide you through how to use the shifters, if there's more than one or multiples or whatever the case may be. But that's really the point is like I started this business because I wanted to get paid to go rock crawling.
Right.
So I go rock crawling, and of course it's always going to drum up business. Everything breaks. People get crazy. There's no such thing as like a titanium vehicle that's never going to break down.
Right.
I mean, it's not possible.
Well, and I know that you go out and you show your wares at car shows and stuff too. But that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves is not using the car.
Right.
I mean, just putting it on the trailer, taking it off the trailer. I mean, I grew up doing vintage racing and vintage road racing, and of course, these parts aren't the best, but they were great for the time, and it's still absolutely thrilling. And actually, can you come over here for a second? I want everybody to see our timer today. Your daughter came with you.
Come on, real quick.
Yeah, we just want to say hi, and your son. Hi. You want to jump in here real quick, or you gonna be shy?
Hello to the camera.
Freshman El Dorado. No, we'll catch him up. But
anyway.
But yeah, she's been giving us our time, so we know we have a couple of minutes. So we'll have to send you back over there so you can tell us how much time we got left.
Thank you.
But I mean, it's amazing how you combine your passion, your family, your work, and everything. And I know some of the guys are probably still back at the shop getting some work done. But talk about some of your team and some of the stuff that they do to help kind of bring this all together.
Yeah, so I have John, who is a Vietnam veteran, and he's also was kind of my mentor when I was growing up. I mean, I call him a stepdad. And he's great because he brings a lot of old school knowledge to the shop. Like, sometimes we see some things in there and I'm too young to even know. I'm like, I don't know. He's like, nah, you do this.
Right.
So, I mean, he brings a lot to the table and he helps out all the way around, gathering parts, keeping me straight, making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And then we have Jason, who's been there almost from the beginning. And he has blossomed. He's welding. Like, he's really doing a really good job. And he's a great human being in general. I mean, he just is really awesome to work with.
Well, I think that reflects, your passion. And the guys are always, even though they're sweaty and grimy and everything, they're always nice, when I come by. But if somebody is watching and they've got a project that maybe they'd like to talk to you about, is it best to come by, call, make an appointment? Can they follow you on social media or anything?
So we're at mavericknm.com, and then you can make it to our Facebook page through mavericknm.com. There's a link there, and then we have a Facebook page in which you can ask questions on that. We tried our hardest to get to answer people. Calling the shop, scheduling an appointment to come and see me is your best bet because, again, it's a small show and we got lots of things going on. So if you need to talk to me personally, come on down and we'll take a look at your project and look at what your direction is and see if it's a good fit for all of us.
Yeah, and so do you have another event or a show coming up or anything?
So the closest thing that we have coming right now is the Chili Challenge, which is going to be at El Caballo Lake.
Okay.
That's put on by New Mexico Four-Wheelers. And they're a great group of people as well. Family fun, they'll have an ice cream social and a bunch of other things. And then there's like everything from stock Jeeps up to full-on rock buggy trails. I mean, there's something for everyone there. And the camping is awesome. Again, it's just one of those nice family events in which it's not racing per se.
Right.
It's just, let's go see what we can do and get into some trouble.
Right. Well, you ever been to any of those like extreme rock racing events?
Yes, I actually was sitting on the board of the XRRA in the early 2000s, and there's so many now, but the number one is King of the Hammers, and that's the race, and so that's in Johnson Valley, and if you think you have the mustard, those trails will tell you whether or not you got mustard.
So are those the ones where people kind of like stand on the sides?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't get you.
Well, most of the time they're standing up on the top of the ravines, and then you're driving down the bottom. And just like the picture we had shown earlier, where the guy was crawling up the waterfall and somebody was standing on the side, it's pretty safe as far as everything's concerned. But it does get a little wild. I mean, you're talking about buggies that have 40s and 900 horsepower LSs with superchargers, and they get pretty crazy out at the King of the Hammers. But that is the race of all off-road races because it's half desert, half rock crawling.
Awesome. Hey, Will, thank you for coming on the show.
Inviting me.
Absolutely. All right, we got a whole lot more coming up on the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the Proview Network, Comcast 26.
Locally loved restaurants like Farina Pizzeria, Farina Alto, and the Artichoke Cafe are the perfect venue for your next event. Farina Alto has traditional Italian food, plus handcrafted cocktails in a beautiful Northeast Heights location. Farina Pizzeria with a downtown vibe, amazing affordable wines, and local beer. And the Artichoke Cafe has set the standard for casual fine dining since 1989. Visit our family of restaurants and see what fine dining is all about.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all, or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, #life change will occur.
Sydnee's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sydnee's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
For 55 years, people have bought trucks from Tillery in Los Lunas. We have a great selection of vehicles, the quality service department, and some of the best deals in the state. But most importantly, we found people prefer to buy trucks from people who actually drive trucks.
Tillery is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Locally owned and operated, located in Los Lunas, right off I-25, exit 203. Hey, New Mexico, come check out the newly remodeled guest rooms at the new Wyndham Albuquerque Hotel and Conference Center, featuring 309 rooms, 30,000 square feet of meeting space. New Mexico's only indoor water park featuring the Wave Runner. 2,200 square foot fitness center with hydro massage chairs. Also enjoy breakfast at our new Manzanita Grill and watch your favorite team play at Altitude Sports Bar and Grill. It's all at Wyndham Albuquerque Hotel and Conference Center. Hey everyone, Adam Deal here with Proview Networks. Extreme Clean is a proud sponsor and supporter of Proview Networks and all high school sports athletics. Owner Mike McLean and Extreme Clean specialize in carpet cleaning for apartment, realty, business, and residential clients. With over 20 years experience, attention to detail and quality customer service matters. For more information, give them a call, 505-221-6440, Extreme Clean. Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with Proview Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico high school athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you.
Welcome back to the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the Proview Network. Now I want to introduce everybody to my guest this week, Sydnee Hamblin, Director of Operations at SEH Motorsports. I know that's a little professional word since it's such a small team for everybody, but you want to explain a little bit about your role on the race team?
Well, my role has just recently changed in how I'm doing things and how I operate. Growing up, I was kind of just, here, go do this, here, go do that, run around, do whatever was needed, and now I've kind of stepped up and I'm doing a little bit of everything, and setups and fuel and making sure everything's running right, and it's scary but fun at the same time. Yeah, and you're exactly right. And with a small team like we have on SEH Motorsports, it's so imperative for everybody to jump in, and we have a lot of people running around doing a lot of different things, and it's so weird because I got a phone call last Monday. And it was a total surprise to me. It was about 4 p.m. I was at work, and out of nowhere, my whole weekend changed, including my week. You want to explain a little bit about how the revival of SEH Motorsports came about? Yeah, so for those people who don't know, my grandpa was diagnosed with lung cancer around Christmas time, and we had kind of scaled back to focus on his health and to just focus on making him better and as good as we could have him. And we got some really good news a few weeks ago, and my grandpa kind of decided he was going to start looking for a new car. And so he was like, well, we might go to Tucson, we might pick up this car, we might do this, we might do that. And so I kind of sat there and I was like, all right, well, do you have a driver? He was like, well, yeah, I want to put Spencer Hill in the car. And I was like, well, have you told him? And he was like, well, no, I don't have a car yet. And I was like, well, if you want him to race this weekend, we should probably call him. And so he literally goes, well, go call him. So sitting in the waiting room of Rust Cancer Center, I called you and was like, hey, we've got a car. You want to drive? And the rest is kind of history. And then for those of you that don't know, Sydnee's grandfather that she's referring to, Truman West, huge name in sprint car racing out here. What has it been like growing up with somebody like Truman who everybody knows? Well, the kind of crazy thing is people always come up to me and they go like, I've known you since you were a little itty bitty baby. And I'm like, cool, who are you? Like, it's hilarious how all of these people go like, yeah, I've known you forever. And I'm like, well, cool. Like, I went to my first race at 3 days old, so I've never known any different. But people, like, always know me, and I'm like, hi, who are you? Like, but people always go like, aren't you Truman's granddaughter? And I'm like, yeah, do you like him? Do you not like him? Like, what am I getting into here? Most people like him, but there are the few where you're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, at the racetrack, I mean, it's so hard for everybody to be friends. For sure. But Truman West, somebody that's definitely one of the most respectful people out there, and everybody respects him as well.
And it's so cool to have you kind of now taking the torch over with SEH Motorsports in a way. I mean, you've definitely stepped up more than ever before with that. To people who might not know anything about sprint car racing, what would you tell someone to expect for their first ever race?
Speed and noise. A lot of people, when you bring them to the track for the first time, they're not expecting it to be that loud. And you're like, like for me, I don't even notice it anymore because I've grown up around it, but they're like, I didn't know they were going to be that loud. And I'm like, well, yeah.
Surprise,
like,
yeah.
You've got a lot of horsepower under there. The noise has got to go somewhere. And, but yeah, and fights, like people don't expect there to be like confrontation and arguments that happen around the racetrack. And you're like, well, that guy ran that guy over, so yeah, probably. Like.
And we almost had a fight this weekend too.
We did.
I had a front row seat for that one. That was a little bit sketchy. All of a sudden, we were having a big gaggle of cars, about I don't know, probably 8 cars all together racing. And out of nowhere, somebody gets turned around on the front stretch, and there's just cars everywhere. And somehow, some way, I missed that one. And then I almost got collected in another wreck on the back straightaway.
Yeah.
You want to explain a little bit about what happened with that?
So one of the cars got sideways on the front straightaway. A couple other cars got tangled up with him, kind of took out his front end. So he was pretty upset about that and kind of confronted one of the other drivers on the front straightaway. Then on the back straightaway, during the yellow, just kind of odd racing accident that probably won't ever happen again. But one of the cars got upside down on the yellow and caused a red. And so there was just kind of a lot going on all 4 corners of the track, and it was kind of a free-for-all.
And Jacob Johnston, the driver, getting upside down, causing the red flag. We're really happy to announce that Jacob, although he is a little bit sore, he's feeling a lot better today, and thankfully it's just some damage to his car. Nothing on him, so he'll be back to race.
Knee guard.
Yeah, the knee guards are so important in those sprint cars. I've learned that the hard way a couple times. So Sydnee, you've also kind of accepted a new role, especially unique to women in the sport. Can you talk to us a little bit about what it's been like crew chiefing for Gary Gwynn?
Definitely a big turning point in my kind of racing career. My grandpa kind of always had the girls, their job is to sit there and look pretty. And so I've only ever learned and had to practice the things that are necessary. I can change a shock, I can put fuel in the car, that's the simple stuff. But when Gary decided he was going to buy a sprint car, he kind of called me and was like, hey, like, can you help me? And I was like, well, sure, like, we don't have a car, like, sure. And he really kind of came in real quick into the sprint car racing and didn't really know a whole lot about what was going on. And so he goes like, you know more than I do, so we're going to do this. And I was like, oh, whoa, like, I wasn't expecting to have to, like, kind of take on the setup role and here's how, when we set it up like this, you're going to drive the car like this. And it really made me practice a lot of what I've learned about sprint car racing over the last 21 years. So. Yeah,
and here up on the screen now we have some pictures from this last weekend. Black car, kind of unusual for you guys. What's your thoughts on the color scheme right now?
I'm not a huge fan of how black scratches. You can see every little flaw in it.
And here's me and Truman.
Yep. And but I like the way the graphics pop on the black. I'm a fan of a black car, but everybody's a fan of a black car, and so if you want a car that stands out, it's got to be white. And so we might change the color schemes up a little bit, but always staying with that orange and purple.
Speaking of white, of course, orange and purple always a staple with the SEH Motorsports clan. Here's a car from a couple years ago, Dylan Tanner, very important to your guys' team as well. And here's also a picture of back when I was running with you the first time.
Yep.
What was it like trying to balance 2 cars at the same time?
2 cars is for me not very different from 1 car because I always end up kind of focused on one. But it's a big jump when you have to make sure both cars have fuel and both cars are ready and both drivers are ready, and it's a lot of taxing work on the whole crew, especially my grandpa, just because he's older and we use his knowledge for everything, but he can't do it all on his own. And so it's tough running 2 cars, but definitely well worth it in the end.
Absolutely, and we can't do it without the people that do surround us at SEH Motorsports, from Truman, Pat, Angie, Casey, Wayne, Rob, Karen, everybody that makes SEH Motorsports come alive. It means so much to me, and I know it does to you guys too, to have someone like like Truman and Pat, just to make that patriarchy and make something like that actually blossom into what it's become is so huge. And of course, Dylan Tanner, one of the original drivers on SEH Motorsports. now kind of moving along with his wife, Sky. Do you think it's been kind of odd for them to kind of just jump into it with both feet?
Well, I know for a fact it's been odd for us on our side because, I mean, we're a huge family operation where we do everything together from Monday night dinners to cleaning the car to everything. And so for them to kind of branch out and do their own thing, we were kind of like, well, we're ready to jump in and help. And they're kind of like, well, we kind of want to do it on our own. And I'm like, what do we do now? Like, no, like you're an SEH car, like we help you. And I mean, we have so many cars at the track that we help and so many drivers that we've put through the SEH rookie program, I guess we can call it. And for them to kind of really just branch out and do it on their own, it's been tough on all of us where we're like, well, we just want to help. And they're like, we got it. And we're like, oh, all right. Like, so it's been a change for all of us in that. And I'm glad you mentioned the rookie program because that's something that Truman really has focused on the last couple of years is pushing rookies through. And it's something that I was so honored to be a part of. But what is it like introducing these kids that have never stepped behind the wheel of a sprint car and trying to get them up to speed within, 1 to 2 years? I mean, most of the drivers that we've put in our cars have come up through quarter midgets, go-karts, mini sprints, etc. So for the most part, we don't really have to introduce them to it because they know it. But the best part about doing it is the first time the kids start the cars off and they get out and they have this huge smile on their face. And it's
I know that
it's something you just can't replicate ever again. And so for us to be able to do it so many different times with so many different drivers is kind of a really inspiring thing, and seeing how my grandpa's done it and how we want to carry on that legacy of keeping with the new drivers and things like that. Dylan kind of got the lucky shoe in on the keeping the ride thing.
Yeah.
He put a ring on it.
He married into that one.
Yeah, he married into the family, and we pick on him every day for it. We're like, you chose this, like whatever you do, you bro, but you chose to stick with this. And for the most part, once you're in with SEH, you're in with SEH and your family, and you can't really get out of it. Absolutely. And do you have a favorite racing memory throughout all the years? I know there's been so many things. I mean, from the beginning, just all the way up to the end. I know you guys have done wing, non-wing racing. You guys have just been through so much. Does something stick out to you? Probably one of my favorite racing memories is, I think it was 2007, 2008. Tim West, my uncle, when he was still driving for us, won in Cortez and completely swept the weekend. Won the heat race, won the dash, won the main by a landslide, and we even went an extra lap. And me and my mom were freaking out about it because we count laps back. And so I was like, they're going extra laps, and she was like, I know. And we won. And I just remember getting to run out on the track and be involved in that. And then again at the Floyd Reynolds in 2011. He won up in Aztec, and just getting that feeling of watching your car up in the front and getting to go out and be on the track and just be involved in that is probably some of my favorite older racing memories. And that's absolutely one of my goals here in the next couple months, is to getting you guys back to the front straightaway, back to victory lane. Do you plan on carrying the SEH Motorsports legacy moving forward? Absolutely. When we put the Mansfield boys in the car, Austin and Cody, we kind of, my cousin Sky was an owner of one car and I was an owner of the other one. And of course I didn't have to put anything financially towards it, but getting to see it now and kind of being full on involved in it, it's definitely something that I want to do. In car owning or just being involved crew-wise, as long as SEH is at the track, we'll probably have a car. So that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sydney. I appreciate it. If people wanted to go online and keep track with what you guys have going on, how can they do so? So we do updates weekly on SEH Motorsports on Facebook. For the most part at the track, I do updates on Facebook and on Twitter at SydB11W, and that's pretty much where you can find us. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Sydney. I'm sure we're going to be talking about all the adventures we're going on here in the next couple of weeks. There's a lot coming up, so. It'll be all fun, though. You guys are watching the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the Proview Network, and we'll be right back.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Nothing completes a trip downtown like a visit to Lindy's Cafe. You won't find a more relaxing restaurant to unwind at. Located on 5th and Central, proud supporters of Proview Networks, Lindy's strives to be a friendly and welcoming place.
Lindy's, a great place to be seen.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
Turbo Threads is a proud sponsor of Proview Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sport shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. Turbo Threads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for Turbo Threads.
Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill. Hoops NM Basketball Center is coming soon. 10 full courts broken into 2 wings for ultimate basketball and volleyball play. Locker rooms, a lounge area, a pro shop, and a full snack bar will all be a part of a great experience. Convenient parking and access will make the Hoops NM Basketball Center a premier facility for league play and competitive regional tournaments. With over 9,000 square feet, Hoops NM Basketball Center will take court sports play to another level in our community. Courts are regulation high school size with wood floors and seating for approximately 350 per court. Major sponsors and supporters are being assembled now. If you're interested, contact Dan Serrano at 505-249-7994. Send him an email, hoopsnm@aol.com. That's hoopsnm@aol.com. Hoops NM Basketball Center, a premier sports facility serving our community.
Welcome back to the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the Proview Network. Dave, a lot of racing going on this week, from IndyCar at Mid-Ohio to the Tricky Triangle in Pocono. What did we learn this weekend?
Well, we learned that open wheel cars can beat and bang a little bit without tearing them up. It was funny because I was showing my wife actually the difference, because when the Formula One touched, they still throw parts everywhere. But I was absolutely amazed at the number of outside passes that I saw in IndyCar and as much wheel banging as I saw. And we also saw in all the forms of racing a lot of drivers coming from the back and coming to the front. And actually, we got the national race calendar here we can go through really quickly. Camping World Trucks coming up August 11th at Michigan Speedway. Of course, Kyle Busch won last weekend at Pocono. Xfinity going to be going at Watkins Glen, which I'd love the amount of road racing that the Xfinity Series does, more than they actually do in the Cup. Monster Energy, of course, Watkins Glen as well. Kyle Busch, 49th victory, ties Tony Stewart for all-time victories. But let's talk a little IndyCar. Alexander Rossi got the race win. Of course, he did it on a fuel mileage. If you want to go ahead and go to the IndyCar information, that would be great. There you go. There's the points on that. You want to jump in there?
Yeah, Alexander Rossi with a very, very great win over there at Mid-Ohio in Lexington. Robert Wickens, the rookie, another strong finish from him.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can't talk about it enough. Just such an impressive year for that number 6 car. Of course, here's the podium. Will Power, he finished third. Joseph Newgarden fourth. Fifth went to Scott Dixon. Sebastian Bourdais was sixth. Seventh was Ryan Hunter-Ray. Simon Pagenaud eighth. Graham Ray Hall ninth. And rounding out the top 10 was Zach Veach.
Yeah, Sebastian Bourdais was just on fire. He looked like he was in another class by himself. Scott Dixon, of course, now is your points leader. Was really able to tighten it up. Alexander Rossi got back in this fight. Joseph Newgarden, if he doesn't get something put together, he's going to find himself on the outside.
Yeah, already when you're slipping back that far for Verizon IndyCar Series, it's not a good feeling sinking now 60 points behind.
Well, and this is probably the biggest lead Scott Dixon has had at this point in the season. I mean, he's won on a tiebreak before, so I'm not sure I want him to have this big a lead, especially going into Infineon.
Very vulnerable position for them right now.
Absolutely.
We also had Formula One racing, though. They got a little hungry this weekend, huh?
That's right. A good one there. Hungaroring. That's the name of the track. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton coming away with the victory. Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Räikkönen, Daniel Ricciardo, who actually was given the position back by Bottas because there was some contact there. It looks like, you know, a normal finish to the race. That's not how it was going. Mercedes had this thing locked up, and then the tires just gave up on Bottas. Couple of blocks, I would say, that he put out there and created some contact. Daniel Ricciardo basically knocked him back out of the way. So he got the wave by, but the points now, Lewis Hamilton really strong, 5 victories over Sebastian Vettel, and likewise they're going to go on a 3-week break now. So they're going to be doing some testing and stuff, mid-season testing, but they're going to be on a break. It's going to be a long time for them to think about, you know, because Ferrari's supposed to actually be faster this year, and yet Mercedes is still getting it done, but. It's going to be a long break, and then, of course, they're going to come back, and they're going to be going to Spa at the end of August. But one thing I did want to give a shout-out to, 19-year-old Mick Schumacher won his first race after 45 starts. Of course, his father, Michael Schumacher, which that is the best-kept secret in the world, is how is he doing? But he got a victory. Of course, Michael Schumacher, 91 Formula One victories, 7-time champ. So give a shout-out to his son, Mick, getting it done, 19 years old.
Yeah, very cool to see that happen. I have a little shout-out of my own, too. Indiana Sprint Week just concluded up in Indiana. Some of the best sprint car racing in the world up there. Chris Windom took home the championship out there. It was a very close points battle throughout the whole week. Of course, big names, Dave Darlin, Kevin Thomas Jr., some of the biggest non-wing sprint car names in the nation were out there battling their hearts out. Chase Briscoe, NASCAR Camp World Truck Series driver, had Thomas Meseraull in the car. He picked up a win during the week.
Wow.
Great racing out there. Awesome conclusion to another amazing Indiana Sprint Week.
Yeah, because don't they race like 7 days a week in Indiana?
Out there in the Midwest, you could race every day if you wanted to, which is why I want to go there or North Carolina. I'm not sure which one, but I'm ending up one of those places.
That's the life. Well, Sydnee's over there, so maybe she could put some sponsor packets together for you and see if you guys can get out there.
Exactly. We'll have to take SEH on the road.
That's right. That's right. Let's talk some trucks.
Heck yeah, we're going to Camping World Truck Series from Pocono Raceway. Kyle Busch with his 51st win in the number 51 truck. Great feat, tying Ron Hornaday Jr. with that. Here he is taking the checkered flag at Pocono this weekend. It was a fun race. It really was. Of course, Noah Gragson, he got sick, so Eric Jones hopped in the truck. First time in, what, 3 years?
Yeah.
And he did an awesome job bringing that Safe Light Auto Glass Toyota home in the 2nd position. Dalton Sargent was 3rd. 4th went to Stuart Friesen in the Halmar International Chevrolet. Justin Haley in the number 24 was 5th. Grant Enfinger 6th. 7th went to Todd Gillen. Johnny Sauter 8th. Matt Crafton 9th. And Joe Nemechek driving the number 8 for his own team in that Chevrolet rounded out your top 10.
Yeah, it's really cool to see the trucks on there. But I tell you, I think that the programs have just been getting better and better and better. I mean, I think the Camping World Truck is excellent. Of course, they're going to have a new name next year with the Gander.
Yeah, the Gander Outdoors Truck Series. It's going to be hard to get used to that, but should have all the same action that we saw throughout this year and years prior. A quick look at the point standings now after 14 of 23 races. Johnny Sauter still out front with 4 wins on the season. Brett Moffitt 6th, second. Third is Justin Haley. Ben Rhodes is 4th. Grant Enfinger 5th. Stuart Friesen 6th. Matt Crafton is in 7th. And 8th is Myatt Snyder, the last truck in the playoff cutoff position. Cody Coughlin and Dalton Sargent going to have to make some magic happen here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll talk about magic. Let's talk some Xfinity. I mean, Christopher Bell, 3 in a row.
Yeah, 3 wins in a row. The first time that someone's done that since Dale Earnhardt Jr., if that is anything.
Did you watch the telecast when Junior didn't even remember he was the last one to do it?
I didn't know. I was racing. I was racing in Shola, so I didn't get to see that. But.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it's a great feat though. Christopher Bell on rails this year. Of course, they have a press conference coming up on Wednesday, so possibly some big news coming for that driver.
Looking forward to it. So let's look at the season points. Christopher Bell, Justin Allgaier, and Tyler Reddick are your top 3. On the cutoff, we got Ryan Reed, Ross Chastain above the cutoff line, Michael Annett, and Ryan Sieg, on the outside looking in.
Yeah, of course, that's Monster Energy. That's a typo up there. There it is, the NASCAR Xfinity Point Series cutoff. Ross Chastain, I want to talk about him really quick. Best career finish this last weekend at Iowa Speedway in that number 4 car for JD Motorsports. Underfunded team doing really well on the short track scene.
Well, and I think sometimes, you get the right chemistry and you can do a little bit more with a little bit less. But now we'll go to the Monster Energy Cup Series, and of course, Kyle Busch on rail. Now, what was the deal with all of the inspections, the post-qualifying inspections? Because it was, I was expecting to see Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick on the back row, and somehow they start 21st and 22nd. What was that about?
Yeah, it's just inspections. Everybody, especially at a track like Pocono Raceway where aero is so important, everybody's pushing the envelope. And obviously, fans are starting to see that too now as we have more and more cars starting at the rear of the field from failing qualifying inspection and pre-race inspection. We talked about it last week with the laser system. Teams trying to do everything they can, including making their paint schemes different just to get around that system. It just goes to show how important technology has advanced in the last couple of years. I saw another post on Twitter this week that said in 2009 there was 44 cars within 1 second of each other at Iowa Speedway for the first race that was over there. This weekend, only 22 cars were within a second of each other.
Wow.
So obviously that gap from first to last is getting larger and larger. And back in 2009, if everybody would remember, we had Cup regulars throughout the entire field. It was just a staple. Mike Bliss actually got the pole back then. And so, it's just, things have changed so much as they've stayed the same.
Well, one thing that's really good with the change, though, is I don't know if you saw how hard Bubba Wallace hit the wall.
Oh, absolutely.
But I sat there holding my breath, waiting for that net to come down. But hey, we're running short on time. We're going to have to find a way to make this a 2-hour show. But Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman, Kevin Harvick, and Eric Jones were your top 5. Let's talk about points. Now you got both Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick with 6 victories, and of course to round out the top 3, Martin Truex. But on the bubble, Alex Bowman, Jimmy Johnson, Ricky Stenhouse, and Paul Menard on the outside looking in, and that's actually really good for Paul Menard.
Yeah. Great points battle shaping up. Again, that's about all we have time for today with the New Mexico Motorsports Report, though. All of you guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on all of our social medias. For David Swope, I'm Spencer Hill. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.